gap, and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eaton fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Today we are live from Richmond, Virginia. Yesterday I drove 13 hours to get to Richmond, Virginia. I will be here for most of the week, driving back to Chicago sometime after the show on Thursday, and we will have our show on time on Friday afternoon right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Spencer Lee Jr., a close and dear friend of mine who handled the memorial services of my father, will begin his transition processes with the same kind of dignity that he afforded my family. This coming Thursday, he will lie in state at the Leak Funeral Homes. On Friday, there will be a family private service at the Trinity United Church of Christ. And on Saturday, the same place that my father's final services were held, he will be memorialized and funeralized at the House of Hope on the south side of Chicago. The outpouring of concern for his wife, Donna, his parents, both of whom are in their late 80s and early 90s, to have to endure the idea of burying a son. It just couldn't get more difficult than that. And so life, as we have been taught and as we know, is filled with swift transitions. And so I will be in Chicago on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for Spencer's services, and then en route to Los Angeles sometime next week for the 5th anniversary of KBLA Talk 1580. At this hour, our prayers are with the Leak family, and very much looking forward to returning to the city of Chicago to commemorate, to celebrate, to share love with that family in honor of his life. It's Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and therefore Ernest Krim, our regular contributor, Emmy-nominated producer, public teacher, anti-racist educator, hate crime victor who uses Black historical narratives to empower and educate through a culturally equitable lens. Mr. Krim, Southside of Chicago native and University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana graduate, is a former high school history teacher and educator of 12 years, who now also advocates for social justice issues and teaches Black history to the world through social media with a platform that reaches roughly 4 million people each month. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Moving Mountain Monday.
Hey, what's up, brother? It's good to be here with you again.
Brother, I am so glad that you are here because one of the issues that, parents who have experienced the graduation of their children in 2026, many of these young people are now home. Many of them are either preparing to go to college in the fall, a very different environment than it was just a year ago. For those who are graduating, of course, some of our young people are looking for things to do. And in the city of Chicago, we are experiencing something called teen takeovers, which are, of course, drawing the ire of the politicals in the city of Chicago, and as well tourists who might come to Chicago, with the way in which the stories are being covered and projected to the world about our city. But I'm also thinking in this moment, Ernest, and no one would know this better, that when one looks at the current state of the federal budget, we have about a minute and a half before we come forward, Ernest. Food insecurity has got to be a problem for young people in the classroom. Ernest, can you kick us off with that and let us come forward for a broader conversation on food insecurity for our nation's children?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that's always been interesting about being an educator is you're expected to, of course, compile a list of rules every year for your students. And usually on that general list of rules, there will contain one that says no eating in the class. And I was the type of educator that was always flexible with that because, and as we'll talk about throughout the hour, you soon learn that you can't teach a child while that child is hungry. And if we get to that baseline with many of the issues we face today, I think that helps us resolve the issues that our kids are facing in this moment.
I think that's right. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. The federal government is cutting back on programs that benefit children, and in some cases, these are the only programs where the children themselves get a meal while they attempt and try to learn. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 right here when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man.
Dell PCs with Intel inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. For the time you forgot your charger at the gate,
Passengers, we are now on our initial ascent.
or when you're bouncing between projects like a ping pong ball. We build PCs with long-lasting battery life, so you're not scrambling for an outlet. And built-in intelligence, so you can stay focused on whatever you're doing. Dell Technologies, built for you. Dell.com/Dell PCs.
Meet Matthew Preston. Inside his apartment, everything he holds dear is protected by Progressive's renter's insurance, like his laptop and a surprisingly valuable collection of baseball bobbleheads. Outside his apartment, his laptop is still protected, as are his bobbleheads, which he carries around with him for reasons no one knows. Renters, the limits of protection aren't just the four walls of your home. When you're in Progressive's Protection Zone, get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays, and we are in Mr. Krim's classroom. Ernest, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks again for having me, brother.
Ernest, when I think theologically and biblically, before Jesus could deliver the Sermon on the Mount, he had to feed the hungry crowd with fish sandwiches. He moved great mountains, great seas, great oceans, and great waters to pull together yeast, to pull together fish, high protein, so that the people themselves would not just be hungry, but they could hear through any physical need for food that they had. Ernest, why is that so important from the perspective of a teacher?
I think one of the most important things to consider is that nationally, we know that a little more than 1 out of every 4 Black children live in food insecure households as of about 2023 or so. And I think when I consider even my experience teaching in the Chicago area, I saw that at a much higher rate. And you cannot teach people, you cannot tell people what they should be doing, whether it be educationally or politically, if they haven't had their basic needs met. And when I speak to, educators and people across the country, I always kind of bring that up too. When we're talking about behavior with our kids or, these so-called takeovers that our kids are involved in, we have to think of the baseline needs that all people have to have. And, for me, I'm a breakfast person. I don't know about you, Jesse, but like when I wake up, I can't think correctly unless I have my coffee and I have some food. And until then, I can't have a serious conversation with you. Like the days when I'm most frustrated are the days when I've had to skip meals or if I had to like inadvertently fast until like lunchtime or something like that, right? So considering that climate in the midst of having a president who's taken away SNAP funding for, our kids and kids all across the country, this is going to have a more deleterious impact because according to statistics, we know that kids who suffer from food insecurity have lower rates of academic achievement, are more prone to act out. And then what does that balloon to? That's my concern. What does that become when they graduate? Because we're cool. We're like anxious to say we've raised the graduation rates and we've had the kids do this much better academically. But when they graduate, those same problems then become problems for society if we aren't creating systems that are able to feed them in more ways than one. It's food for thought for a reason, bro. Like I cannot think correctly until I have some food.
Ernest, I've bumped into teachers and I've spent time with teachers, including but not limited to in South suburban Fort Heights, where I spoke at the 8th grade graduation just a few short weeks ago, where the teachers themselves have suggested that without the school lunch program or whatever form of supplemental nutrition they receive in the morning, in many cases, it is the only meal that those children have every single day. Has that been your experience as a teacher?
Oh, for sure. Now, as someone who taught through the pandemic and 1 year after the pandemic, when we went back to class, that was what our administrators' work consisted of during the pandemic, because there was a concern that our children wouldn't eat. And you think about this, if you have kids who come to school on time, they can get breakfast at school. They'll get lunch at school. You know what I'm saying? So like, and if they're in an activity, you might have a coach that's providing some type of food or snack. So that's 2/3 of your meal. Some kids are getting it free, some in a reduced capacity, but that could be the only thing they eat. And I saw during that pandemic, so many educators in my school district and in various other places across the country essentially turned into food distributors because our kids still needed access to food. And you think about even now seeing the long lines around, the churches and different places that are providing food through food pantries. This isn't just something that's impacting the kids. Our kids are food insecure because their parents are, quite frankly, and their parents are working full-time jobs and they can't even provide for their family working 40 plus hours a week. And that's one of the core issues we still face here.
Now, I believe this is a national issue. I don't think it's just the south side of Chicago. I don't think it's just Crenshaw. I think in rural areas as well, in parts of America that we don't often frequent, even though in these rural counties, they may be responsible for growing food or producing food or curating meats that ultimately end up on our tables during the school day. The statistics are showing that even children in rural areas where food is produced, it doesn't necessarily equal a meal during school hours. Am I correct?
Oh, for sure. And I think I was in a position where, fortunately for me, I was able to teach kids who were in all of these positions. So I saw various walks of life from rural settings to urban and suburban as well. And you think about the fact that even if we speak in terms of our situation, Black folks over the course of the 1900s had 90% of their farmland taken away through various measures politically, right? So, but that doesn't just impact us. If we know it's 90% for us, imagine what it could be like for the broader society too. These farms that we see that we drive past on these back roads oftentimes, whether we be on road trips or whatever, these aren't owned by families like they used to a generation ago. These are owned by large corporations, right? So that and so we aren't in a society now where like my family coming from Mississippi, right? Coming from Florida. My grandparents grew up with farms in their backyards with chickens in the backyard. And now here we are. I was watching a TikTok the other day, brother, like there was somebody who went viral because she was explaining how she did not realize that the lemons growing on her tree in the backyard were edible, that she can just pull them from the tree and eat them. That's how disconnected we are from food. Like when I think about when we talk about the corner store issues we've been having in our community with lack of ownership and things like that, it's easier for us to go to a corner store and buy, some grape flavored pop or, a frosted honey bun or fruit flavored chips, as opposed to being able to actually find fresh produce. Man, I saw this brother, and again, this millennial TikTok, he's talking about breadfruit. And I was flabbergasted, man. I'm like, what is breadfruit? And I think about just like how we are fed this steady diet of if we have access to fruit, it's the same things. They all look the same. When I went to about a month ago, I'm in Toronto and I had some fruit at the hotel, seeds everywhere. I was talking to a sister there and I told her how amazed I was. And she could not believe that I was astonished that their fruit had seeds. So this is a problem that we all face as Americans throughout the country. When is the last time y'all have been able to buy a seeded grape? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Let me make a corollary here. If it is nearly impossible to teach a student to learn while the child is hungry, is it a comparable corollary, and this is a pivot, to ask a man or woman to vote or to teach them to vote, and they are still hungry, that they can actually learn anything or remember anything about who they are voting for and why they're voting? This question of hunger isn't just in the classroom, it's also in the broader society. Am I correct on that, Ernest?
Oh, for sure. I think that is also why so many times in the last several elections, you'll have people whose reference point to who to vote for might be contingent upon, or might be based on who they felt like gave them cash or who they felt like allowed them to have more money in their pockets. Because at the end of the day, having the opportunity to discuss these issues right here is a privilege, right? Being able to have the time to research these things is a privilege. But for a lot of folks who might be working 10, 12-hour shifts, right, all day, like if the gas is going up, my immediate inclination is to say whoever's in office right now is to blame for that. If I don't have as much money in my pocket, my immediate inclination is going to be to blame the person who's in office, better for worse, right? If my money is not able to go as far at the grocery store. So these are basic needs. When you talk about across the board, what we all generally care about is we're talking economic issues. Who's going to allow me the best opportunity to literally and figuratively feed myself and feed my family? For example, I mean, there's no reason why in this country, as we come towards the 250th birthday of this nation, that we should have veterans, for example, struggling to this degree, or on the side of the roads begging for shelter and food when we live in a nation such as this.
The producer of the Jesse Jackson Jr. show shared with me that she was in a line driving through Starbucks the other day. And obviously, it was a long line because she had time to sit there and observe an individual, a grown man, climb into a dumpster looking for food and taking a bite out of food that was discarded. She pulled her car over, she parked, and she said, "Brother, listen, I got $5 for you. Let's get you something to eat." He said that he was grateful. He said he didn't want to climb through a dumpster looking for food, but that he was hungry. Now, he was a grown man. He was not a child. In a school, in a learning environment, being asked to be responsive to the idea of an American dream, that somehow their lives are going to be better at the end of all of their education than their parents were by the time they are entering the workforce. This is a grown man who, within the last week, was climbing through a dumpster looking for food. The same grown man and the same adult that many of us are asking to vote in the midterms, to participate in the process. And I can only imagine from that brother's perspective, the answer to the question is, why should I vote? Ernest?
Wow.
Have you ever had a student ever say, "Why should I learn? I'm hungry, and what you're teaching me isn't going to address what's going on in my stomach right now"?
Oh, for sure. Going back to the opening comments I made about this issue, this reminds me of the school to prison pipeline conversation, because just how that man could be punished. He could be criminalized for going through the trash or for outside asking for money. We are expected as educators, and I'm sure many educators who are listening now across the country can attest to this. You are not expected to allow kids time to have a snack in class or time to eat in class, or even provide them with something if you have, a classroom set of maybe bars or protein bars or something like that on the side, because the chief focus is getting those test scores up. The chief focus is getting those kids, across the stage for graduation. And it reminds me so much of how in society it's the same thing. We're coming up on Juneteenth. That General Order 3 said that you, as newly freed Black folks, are not expected to be idle. You're expected to stay where you are and work. So it's almost viewed as a crime to be out of work in the richest nation in the world, that is taking away the opportunity to work. I've had kids where it would be, to them, I could be making money right now. Why am I sitting in your class and my family can't eat? And who am I to tell them that they're wrong? Because I can only tell them that even though I believe this education is a worthwhile investment, there is a delayed gratification to that. So
there are teachers like you who see the problem. I mean, they see it every day. The fact that some of our parents let their children come to school every single morning hungry. Some of them not in a position to make sure their children have a decent meal. So they end up needing candy, needing sugar, getting something from a friend, maybe a half a sandwich from someone who did come to school with a lunch bag, something to eat. But then on the other hand, there are children who are sitting there who are hungry, and the rest of their day is trying to find something to eat and even remember what it was that you taught in the classroom. That's a reality for these kids, isn't it, Ernest?
Oh, yes, indeed. And even to that point, I'm sure we could talk about this when we come forward even more in depth. when these kids do get food, it's not as if they're eating the healthiest food, because when they get to school, you'll have somebody that's selling Flamin' Hots and Fruities and Chewies. So your body's yearning for water and vegetables and fruit, but what's available to you is some of the things that are actually worse for your health.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It is Monday, June the 8th at 3:29 on the East Coast. It is 2:29 Central and 12:29 on the West Coast. We will be in Los Angeles for the 5th anniversary of KBLA Talk 1580 towards the latter part of next week. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're on Moving Mountain Mondays with Ernest Krim. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump abruptly ended a taped Meet the Press interview on NBC after being challenged on election fraud claims and his DOJ weaponization fund.
The one-sided crooked network. So let's call it quits because I've had enough.
Moderator Kristen Welker pressed him for evidence after Trump claimed California officials were cheating in the primary. President Trump is weighing in on the Los Angeles mayor's race after Republican reality TV star Spencer Pratt appears to have fallen short. With votes still being counted, Democrat Nithya Raman is expected to face Black incumbent Mayor Karen Bass in November. And rapper Snoop Dogg helped open the new Long Beach Amphitheater in California over the weekend, headlining the first show at the 11,000-seat waterfront venue near the Queen Mary cruise ship. The temporary theater could lead to a permanent venue, with rappers like Lil Wayne and Nas and The Roots also set to perform this summer. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Make this summer one to remember at MGM Grand Las Vegas. Lounge by the pool, catch world-class entertainment, indulge in unforgettable dining, and experience the energy only MGM can deliver. Plan your Vegas escape today at MGMRewards.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
We're going to find out if the San Antonio Spurs are mentally tough. The atmosphere for Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight inside Madison Square Garden and around New York City will be electric and intense. Knicks fans have been celebrating in the streets after the Knicks won the first 2 games in San Antonio. Are the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama up for this challenge? Only 5 teams in the history of the NBA playoffs have come back from an 0-2 deficit to win the title. The Spurs do have some confidence in New York. They were not blown out in the first 2 games. The Spurs had a 1-point lead with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter in Game 1 before the Knicks pulled away. In Game 2, Wembanyama missed a game-winning shot at the buzzer. The Spurs lost by 1. We'll see if the close outcomes in Games 1 and 2 have an impact on the Spurs tonight. 5 p.m. tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavish Smiley. It's high time that we say the quiet part out loud about what we consider a disgrace, an absolute disgrace to the people of South Los Angeles. Destination Crenshaw, or as I call it, Procrastination Crenshaw, was supposed to be a 1.3-mile celebration of Black Los Angeles. Pocket parks, commissioned art, a cultural corridor along Crenshaw Boulevard, stretching from our studios in Leimert Park down to Nipsey Hussle Square. It was set to complete in 2022. That's right, 2022. We are now in 2026, and the Crenshaw community is still waiting. A grand opening was announced for February 2024. That date passed with not a single artwork installed. Then we were promised that construction would be completed by the end of 2024. That date came and went. Our understanding is that as of last fall, the 8th Council District Office was still scrambling to raise additional monies just to restart the project, which has been paused again and again. But here's what makes my blood boil. City officials had the nerve to tell this community the delays are, quote, a necessary inconvenience, close quote. A necessary inconvenience? First of all, who you talking to? Second, go tell that to the black business owners who have been coping with construction chaos, breathing dust, enduring years of road closures, and the scarcity of available parking, confronting unsanitary conditions, losing customers and revenue, all while the project they were promised still sits unfinished. They wouldn't let a project sit this long in any other part of this city. And for what it's worth, our elected official just happens to be the president of the LA City Council. Meanwhile, the city is laser focused on sprucing things up for the World Cup and the Olympics. Please, if this corridor were in Brentwood or Beverly Hills, it would have been completed on time, on budget, and on the cover of every magazine in town. The Crenshaw community deserves better. They deserve the truth, and they deserve what was promised to them. Now, right now, not when it's convenient, not when the cameras are rolling for the Olympics. Now, this isn't incompetence. This is a pattern. And at some point, neglect becomes a decision. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Moving Mountain Monday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In the next hour, The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Ford Owens and our special guest, Wayne Swanson, the owner and farming coach of Swanson Family Farms. We will continue this conversation about insecurity and the role that Black farmers have been playing in helping produce some of the highest quality food in the country. And I'm thinking in this moment with our very special regular contributor, Ernest Krim, that if you're listening to us on the 110, the 118, the 10, the 101, the 5, the 405, if you're listening to us, when you get home to your child, ask your child, one, have they ever been hungry at school? Just ask the question and tell them to give you an honest answer. And then ask your child if they know of any of their classmates who are hungry while in school, who go without food, who don't want to talk about it, who don't share it publicly, but they are food insecure, but they are being asked to study, to write, to read, to participate in athletic programs with less protein in their bodies than the U.S. Department of Agriculture suggests should be in the average age of a child in a particular grade so that they can continue to grow and develop physically, mentally, as well as spiritually. It's almost impossible to do that without an egg and bacon sandwich or a ham sandwich or some salad or some fruit or some food that provides the basic sustenance and the energy necessary to make it. How many children are actually in school and thriving simply off of energy drinks? A little bottle that you can get at the grocery store, or the pure cane sugar energy drinks that dominate all of the gas stations and their refrigerations just on the other side of the cash registers. How many of these children are living off of Fritos and Doritos? That's their basic meal and basic sustenance. And then we're asking them to be the best students that they can be against the backdrop of food insecurity. Ernest, a very difficult subject matter.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you made me think about how my lunch oftentimes, mainly in high school, consisted of Flaming Hots and cheese. And how often I would come to school hungry, and it wasn't because we weren't able to afford it. It was oftentimes something I want to bring up is this term structural violence, a structure that's created, a system that's created to intentionally deprive people of the basic needs and necessities that they have to have. And schools function this way in a sense because not only are our kids coming hungry, but sometimes many of these schools, because they're trying to save money, because they don't have enough buses to operate on different schedules, kids have to start so early that by the time they can wake up, get ready, and get out the door to catch the bus, they have not had time to sit down and eat a proper meal. So sometimes it could be starvation that comes from not being able to afford. Other times is if my child has to be at school 7:30, 8 o'clock, and they've been up texting all night or whatever it is, right? When do they even have time? So then for the first 3 or 4 classes of the day, they are coasting. Maybe they're acting out, or maybe they're just waiting until that lunch comes. And then when that lunch comes, is the food that's being provided, to your point, even healthy enough to sustain them, or is it something that's going to give them a crash? How can our kids have greater access to fast food establishments than healthy food? Why isn't both available? I often think about how difficult it is. We have to remind ourselves that food comes freely, right? Like fruit and vegetables, it comes freely from the earth. But we'd be hard pressed to find many people that have trees with fruit, for example. There are people I know that work at fast food establishments who would be punished for allowing their food to go to those in our community who are in need. And I think that we also have to keep in mind that schools offering breakfast and offering free breakfast and food in some circumstances is something that comes from our movements, something that the Black Panthers led, something that Black churches led. That was the thing that caused our government to say that we have to make sure this is available for all people. And if we look at, sociologically, maybe Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which we know was taken from indigenous tribal groups, at the baseline of that is having your physiological needs met, like food. So that's something.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ernest. I was going to just pick up on what you said. There are some people in our community, not only do they not have food, they don't know how to eat. Some folk eat every meal standing up. They never have to sit down at the table. Never have to use a fork, a knife, a spoon. Don't know how to engage in a conversation around a meal by chewing and then swallowing and then washing food down so that you can have a conversation without having a mouth full of food while you're talking. I mean, we're just talking about getting something to eat.
Right.
But we're not even discussing the fact that some of us don't know how to eat. And we go to high school, we graduate from elementary school, graduate from high school, graduate from college, and never sat at a table to know where the fork is, where it's supposed to be, what knife you're supposed to. We don't know how to eat. And then when we're in a professional environment and people see us eating for the first time like we ain't never ate before, the consequences of that are so extraordinary for your future because of not having the base. Some of our parents don't know how to eat. So it's not even the best example that's being set.
Right.
Not only is the food not on the table, but when the food is on the table, it's, slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. Lord, thank you for putting this food. Amen. Let's eat. And everybody starts reaching. I mean, there's no passing the food around the table. There's no full appreciation for the sustenance, the hands that prepared it, and how it got there.
We come from people who we center events and social gatherings around taking our time to be in community around food. People, we often joke around this concept of like CP time and everything, but it's truly because like we take our times with things like this. This is a process. Soul food, for example, we know the movie, like Sunday dinner, do we still have it? Do we still eat with our families? Like this is something, and when you go over your grandma's house or whatever elder in your family that was cooking, you might go over there and still have to wait several hours for that food to finish. And she may have been cooking it since Friday and it's Sunday now. Like this is a process. Like, when you go to certain restaurants in our community that are cooking soul food or whatever, it might say 15 minutes when you order it, but it might take an additional 30 because there's a process to this. But we are trapped in a society that rushes us. And I can attest to it, man. It's been times, brother, when every meal I ate until dinner time was standing up or in the car while I was driving. And that's sad.
Isn't that something? Ernest, man, I appreciate your insights on where our young people are. And then we want to feed them with knowledge of our history and knowledge of our people so that they can make judgments and discern where they are going with an understanding of whence they've come. But it all started with something as basic as nourishment. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the classroom with Mr. Ernest Krim. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids Max Strength. Its dual-active formula has 1,500 milligrams of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolaids spells powerful relief. 1,500 milligrams is our highest amount of antacid per tablet. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh, no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
LADWP customers get rebates up to $1,500 when you install a qualified electric vehicle charger at your home. It's like having a gas station in your garage. Get extra savings when you combine LADWP rebates with federal tax credits on chargers installed before June 30th. Visit ladwp.com/EV today and start saving. That's ladwp.com/EV. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-505-8991. 800-505-8991. 800-505-8991.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Moving Mountain Mondays. Ernest Krem is our regular contributor, and we call the first hour on Monday Being in Mr. Krem's Classroom. He's created content for companies such as HBO, Hulu, Disney, Paramount, and the History Channel. Additionally, he's the CEO of Krem's Cultural Consulting Limited Liability Corporation, an international speaker who's spoken at Harvard, the University of Chicago, Microsoft, Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights, and audiences in the UK and Canada, an author of 2 books, and a passionate progressive education activist who's worked closely with organizations to advocate for educational and political equity, reparations, and mental health awareness. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Moving Mountain Mondays.
Thanks again for having me, brother.
So, in the final analysis, Ernest, when we talk about children, it's not, I think it was Michael Harrington who wrote a book titled The Other America. And I believe after he wrote that book, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech titled The Other America. And in that book, The Other America, the late Michael Harrington, a Democratic socialist, said that in America, we have the best dressed poverty in the world. The best dressed poverty in the world. If I go through Mr. Krem's closet and I give his clothing to a secondhand store, or if Mr. Krem goes through my closet and gives my clothing to a secondhand store, whoever gets my suit at a secondhand store is probably going to be wearing a Brooks Brothers. It's not like they bought it fresh off the rack. They bought it at a secondhand store. But now they are the best dressed poor person wearing an old suit of Jesse Jackson Jr. or an old suit of Ernest Krem or an old suit of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. We've got a lot of dad's clothes that my mother is now trying to position and give away appropriately. But there are going to be some people walking around town looking just like Reverend Jesse Jackson when they get finished putting these suits on. But what's their reality? Their reality is they can't afford a mortgage. Their reality is they're head over heels in debt. They look good. sharp as a tack, great shoes, but they're hungry because we can't see beyond that which we literally see in front of us to discern whether or not the individual is both physically hungry but also poor of spirit. That is, their spirit is hungering and longing for something else in ways that teachers see it differently. My dad often told the story of his grandmother Matilda and Helen Burns, who Tavis Smiley knew very well and knew them both very intimately, of how she would go without even going to church sometimes with one stocking on one leg because she wanted to be, quote, decent at church on Sunday morning with one stocking on one leg. But what she did not want was my father to go to school without a pair of trousers on and a shirt and a pair of shoes so that young children would not make fun of him. My dad was poor. A father who did not support him when he was growing up in segregation. He was poor. Dad was not poor in spirit. And by the grace of God, he made a way out of no way, and he became everything that we celebrate in the life of Jesse Jackson. But the reality is, he said it in a Democratic convention speech, you can see the house I'm running to. You cannot see the house I'm running from. And in a real sense, our teachers on a daily basis see our children and the homes and the environments and the tables and the refrigerators that they are running from. Ernest?
You know, I think firstly, when I reflect briefly on your father again, I think about how he was able to unite so many people around these common issues that impact all Americans, you know, because we can throw out so many statistics that of course would say that Black folks deal with it more in LA and Chicago and so on. But we have to always understand that if Black people are dealing with it, that means that it's an American problem. That means every community, excuse me, is impacted by it. And I would challenge everyone out there that's a concerned citizen, especially if you are engaged in political activism, whatever it may be. When you go to your meetings, whether it be at church Sunday, whether it be Saturday, whether it be whatever, you know, just make sure that it seems simple, but just make sure that the people you are trying to connect with to get to vote, make sure they have a place to eat. They have regular meals coming in, because if not that, then why does any of this matter? Those are our basic physiological needs: food, water, shelter. And oftentimes, even going back to your point about our old clothing items, sometimes we'll cast judgment, right? I'm guilty. We're all guilty of it. Cast judgment based on how someone appears. And we can be so much in a rush, we don't often make time to really tend to the needs that people have, because we are all in this hamster wheel of a society. But we have to make sure that those basic needs are met, because hungry children become hungry adults. And if we think that people have less sympathy for our kids already, what type of sympathy or any empathy do they have for us as adults when we are struggling, like our producer did? That's the type of empathy you don't see on a regular basis. And I do want to, you know, as my time concludes, I want to make sure, because when I was in the class, I would always, you know, for me, again, I would have a drawer full of snacks for my kids, right? Especially that first period of the day. I'm going to have the granola bars and things of that nature. I'm going to bring some of those clementines, those cuties to have for kids to grab. So I want us to always be solution oriented as well. We know this is a big problem, but I would also tell you that for anybody that's listening right now, we know that there are so many of us in our community that are providing solutions that our governments, quite frankly, should be, but we are out there. So I strongly encourage you all to connect with local farmers, local food pantries that are doing this work. I can give you off the top of my head, Black Farmers Index is a great resource to check out to find local Black farmers, because whether we realize it or not, you know, this is going to be something that impacts us all. Even if you can afford your groceries easily, you're all noticing that grocery bill go up, right? We're seeing those items that used to cost $3 now cost $6, now cost $7, now cost $8. So we're all impacted. So get in tune with your local farmers, Black Farmers Index. For those in Chicago, in that area, I would say definitely look up my brother Dion's Chicago Dream. They're passing out fresh produce around the city all the time. For my people in LA, I'm looking at West Side Food Bank. I'm looking at another organization called Food Forest, organization called Not Us Without You LA. We are here to provide services for people, but we have to make sure that they are aware. And before we move forward, we got to make sure that all of our people are fed.
Proud of you, Ernest. Proud of you. Proud of this conversation. And if you're going to school or preparing to go to school, take some canned goods. Just slide your classmates you know need something to eat, some canned goods. Nothing rotten, just something, a can of soup, a couple of canned goods. Take an extra sandwich to class. Treat your friend to something to eat. You know they're hungry. And not just poor in terms of finance, poor of spirit and poor of concern that people aren't caring for them. Every time you offer a man a fish sandwich or something to eat, I promise you they'll never forget it. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on Moving Mountain Mondays and KBLA Talk 1580 with Reverend Dr. Terry Ford Owens and the Swansons when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump abruptly ended a taped Meet the Press interview on NBC after being challenged on election fraud claims and his DOJ weaponization fund.
The one-sided crooked network. So let's call it quits because I've had enough.
Moderator Kristen Welker pressed him for evidence after Trump claimed California officials were cheating in the primary. President Trump is weighing in on the Los Angeles mayor's race after Republican reality TV star Spencer Pratt appears to have fallen short. With votes still being counted, Democrat Nithya Raman is expected to face Black incumbent Mayor Karen Bass in November. And rapper Snoop Dogg helped open the new Long Beach Amphitheater in California over the weekend, headlining the first show at the 11,000-seat waterfront venue near the Queen Mary cruise ship. The temporary theater could lead to a permanent venue with rappers like Lil Wayne and Nas and The Roots also set to perform this summer. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Make this summer one to remember at MGM Grand Las Vegas. Lounge by the pool, catch world-class entertainment, indulge in unforgettable dining, and experience the energy only MGM can deliver. Plan your Vegas escape today at MGMRewards.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
We're going to find out if the San Antonio Spurs are mentally tough. The atmosphere for Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight inside Madison Square Garden and around New York City will be electric and intense. Knicks fans have been celebrating in the streets after the Knicks won the first two games in San Antonio. Are the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama up for this challenge? Only 5 teams in the history of the NBA playoffs have come back from an 0-2 deficit to win the title. The Spurs do have some confidence in New York. They were not blown out in the first 2 games. The Spurs had a 1-point lead with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter in Game 1 before the Knicks pulled away. In Game 2, Wembanyama missed a game-winning shot at the buzzer. The Spurs lost by 1. We'll see if the close outcomes in Games 1 and 2 have an impact on the Spurs tonight. 5 p.m. tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly $14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another $13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eaton fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.